The way that Kokoda Hindsight Club Challenge was born was Scott Hosking and I had breakfast last year after dawn service and got talking, and we thought, well, why don't we set up some sort of challenge to help Bendigo families purchase wheelchairs, and then Scott said to me, well, next year's 100 years of Anzac. All of a sudden Kokoda come into it.
I guess it was somewhat of I don't know, a symbol or a sign. I think like this was the year, I think, you know, and I guess they had more of a spiritual connection as well. So it all seemed to fit to me.
For most guys, it is a bucket list sort of thing, but I think once the angle of the charity come into it as well, and our network, I think that really played a big part in doing it as a group.
We'd done a lot of training. I think the last 6 weeks, or I reckon 4 to 6 weeks, there was probably a hint of, let's just get there.
The day before we left, it was really warm in Moresby, and we checked out the hotel and everyone got their room, and then we thought, oh, we'll get in the pool and have a swim as you do, and then we ended up having a few beers. Shane Maloney, our trek leader, sat us down in a big group and we were still having a beer and went through the whole scenario from start to finish.
I think the reality hit in pretty much when Shane just said, there'll be a couple of you that get helicoptered out. This is pretty tough. Well, all of a sudden the beers got pushed into the middle of the table. No one drank too much more.
All the game faces went on. I've never seen a group of 18 guys change like they did.
I think we all had this kind of feeling of, wow, what have we got ourselves into here, you know?
Everyone went and had dinner and then pretty much went to bed. It was really funny, actually. It was quite funny.
Minibus from Port Moresby to Owers Corner, I think it was only about 25, 30 kilometres, maybe a bit more, but the roads are that bad. It was like a 2-hour trip.
Could have nailed them down, couldn't they?
And then to get to Owers Corner and then just wait for the start, but it was, yeah, ready to, probably at the point then when we wanted to just get into it and get going.
Let's rock and roll!
It was hot, it was muggy, you know, it was a bit, I guess there's a lot of unknown there. You quite didn't know what the next 10 days, and that was something I think that confronted you that day, that, wow, the terrain we saw, the hills were, you know, on a magnitude we'd never seen before, we'd never trained in.
River crossing on day 1, coming into camp for lunch.
I think everyone was anxious because it was a great unknown. We didn't know what we were getting into. You know, you didn't know the terrain, you didn't know how far we were going to walk, the conditions. We didn't think we were going to get the rain like we got, and we didn't have any idea about the hills.
Even when we were at Port Moresby, you really still didn't get an indication of what the hills were like. You've seen some hills in the distance and they looked a bit like that and stuff like that, but you didn't really get the gist of it until we were started.
Oh, the tour guide out the back's gone down, flat on his arse. I got him on video going flat on his arse, the tour guide. Won't be cutting that. He's bang bang coming through the water. Just missed a snake and he didn't even know it.
Day 2, everyone will say day 2 was horrendous. We walked nearly 11 and a half or 12 hours to do 24 kilometres. And Shane purposely put a big day into us to get us ahead of the groups behind us.
10 to 7 and we're doing a river crossing already. Come on boys, give me something to video. Someone go arse over. Where's Burnsy?
The Rio village, I think it was called, and we went through Irribai Ridge, which was more commonly, the stance up there was known as the Wall, and we knew that was our big hard day. It just kind of went forever, and I think that day, whether it was, you know, I think we all stuck together well as a group, but it eventually kind of sorted out. But it was just, there was huge tree roots, there was mud. The angle of this ascent was like nothing I'd ever seen. I just guess you're waiting for your body to kind of sit there and break down, but I think we just kept going. I think the spirit of the group, where we just all kept chugging on, you put your head down and march in front of each other, and it was like false peaks. It just kept moving on and moving on.
It's pouring rain, and here come the boys from the top of the cliff.
I've never walked, you know, hills like it. That nearly broke everyone. We got through it. And I reckon there was a lot of guys that were fragile but didn't say anything.
I guess there was a lot of anticipation about day 3 because it was Brigade Hill, which was a significant battle stage on the track, and I guess most of us really had that digger connection.
Both them, Brigade Hill and Isarava, were probably two of the days that I don't think any of us would have, before the trek, would have said it's going to affect us like it affected us. Let's put it to you that way.
Final stairway to Brigade Hill, where we lost 101 diggers.
There was a bit more spirituality about, you know, that part of the track that on that day that we all were really looking forward to experiencing.
Shane was big on having a service, the tour guide, so we had a service at Isarava and Brigade Hill. Everyone did a reading, and I've probably never seen, and I would be word of lie, there would have been 21 blokes, I reckon, and one girl that pretty much cried through those 2 services.
Why are they selling poppies, Mummy? Selling poppies in town today. The poppies, child, are flowers of love.
The cross, so it can be read, WX.
Especially Brigade Hill. I think we all knew what we were expecting at Isarava because we did another one which was after it. But at Brigade Hill, it was very, very, very emotional. Everyone was very, very emotional, and everyone cried. It was as simple as that. Our porters were involved in that as well. So we sort of lined up one side, the porters on the other side, and we finished both of the services. The porters would sing the Papua New Guinea national anthem, and then us guys would, and one girl, would sing the Australian national anthem. Well, that was interesting at Brigade Hill, because I'm not tipping, I know we didn't do a great job because no one really knew it, and we did know that we were doing it, I suppose. That was the other thing. But we all had a laugh that night when we were around camp that it wasn't the greatest voiceover of our Australian national anthem.
We're heading towards that village, we're in a camp above it.
Isarava was a bit better because we knew what was going to happen, so we'd sort of had a bit of, not practice, but we'd sort of knew it was going to happen. But no, it was very, you know, Shane got our porters involved and the trekkers involved. It was good.
You shit yourself if you heard that coming at you.
I guess the heart of the whole trip outside of Anzac Day was going to be getting to Isarava, and which was, you know, probably one of the most significant battles on the track.
The whole track has that era about it, that feeling about it and stuff like that. And Shane talked about the war and everything. He just knew it back to front. So and it got everyone thinking.
This is Cons Rock, the official operating table during the war.
A bit further on, and we got to Aralea, to experience Isarava was probably one of the most, you know, greatest memorial experiences I've ever had. At Brigade Hill and Isarava, especially with the services, you know, flags at half-mast and all that sort of stuff, it was really, really, really emotional. I guess you could see the magnitude of the war, I suppose, you know, with the legacy of what had happened there and the Japanese coming up and meeting the Australians on this ridge and hill, and, you know, how intense that battle was. You got a real connection with that, but at the same time we could kind of, I guess the emotion was building up on how far we'd come the other way to, we were just in distance of finishing.
Here we are on grand final day, walking downhill, and we're above the cloud.
We got to a little village called Hoy, and which is about 25-30 minutes from Kokoda village, and a beautiful waterfall runs through the village and a rock pool and all that. So we all laid in there and had a 2-hour break. We all sat there and had lunch in a beautiful river. It was a pretty hot day that day. And we had a kick of the footy there, and the kids all come out of the village and we're kicking the footy and having a bit of a laugh.
You could pretty much see the finish line. You know, it was probably 300-400 metres straight down, and you could see the arches.
This is their ceremonial walk as we walk into the final home straight.
We all tracked up, and I guess then we were setting on our way to finish the track.
In the last 3 hours, we walked with the Australian flag and the Papua New Guinean flag on, which was really was a bit touching from that point of view. That was like a sense of achievement, clearly.
basically we got over the line, and God, you know, it was. I guess there was so many different emotions. We all hugged each other, and Bakes pulled out a beer, and you know, it was it was very overwhelming, the whole thing. I think, as I said, we couldn't have done it with a more proud bunch of blokes. We you know, I guess I had my grandfather in my heart, and I guess you know, your patriotism's just at a level that you know, it's hard to experience.
So we pretty much finished the trek a day earlier, so we actually stayed in Kokoda the night before.
We regrouped and got up the next morning at 3:30. We departed for the Bawama War Cemetery.
There's 3,997 graves there, and they had the glow sticks in front of them, and amazing, like, and a full house. It's the biggest dawn service outside Gallipoli, so I don't know how many people would have been there, probably 3,000, 2,000 or 3,000 anyway. And then as dawn broke, and then they played the last post and done the ode and all that, and just to look out, just, yeah, very emotional and just hard to take in that you'd turn around from the cenotaph and look around, and it's just like Arlington in America. There's just rows, symmetrical, like hundreds of graves.
Outside Israel was one of the most amazing experiences, you know, from a memorial point of view, that we just really brought the whole trip together. And I guess that day we got around, and you know, we experienced the graves of young men that had given their lives at 17 or 18, you know, and that was very overwhelming.
3,828 diggers are buried here.
At the end of it, Glenn Maitland, the boss of the Port Moresby RSL, which I'd been in correspondence with, went and seen the Ambassador, Australian Commissioner Deborah Stokes, Australian High Commissioner. So we presented the commemorative book from the City of Greater Bendigo, and she was wrapped. And then we were lucky, we were fortunate enough, Glenn got us some VIP passes, and we went back to the Australian Embassy for the gunfire breakfast.
It's difficult because everyone asks you, what's it like? What's Kokoda like? And you know, and you can show them photos, you can show them GoPro footage, you can show them all that. You can't get a grip of how steep and how in a decline that the hills are for a start.
The hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but also the most amazing.
I wouldn't sit here by any means and say that this was probably the easiest thing, or something within everyone's capabilities. It definitely is one of the most difficult things I've ever experienced.
And as I said to the boys, we're doing this walk because A, we're doing it for the fundraising, but B, the kids we're helping will never get to do this. So if you think it's hard one day, don't worry about it, because the kids we're helping with these wheelchairs, they've got it hard for the rest of their life every day. So no, it was good.
Oh, this is hard, mate, but we'll get there.
I don't think there's anything more fulfilling and satisfying that I've been able to take on and experience at any other time in my life.
All the money from Hindsight doesn't leave Bendigo, as everyone knows now, or starting to know, and that's why it's well supported, because the money stays local and we help City of Greater Bendigo people out. So proud of the boys, proud of what we've achieved, and proud of the fundraising and the people that have donated.